Gosh, your teacher made it sound like we're going to a race or something. How's everyone doing, all right? Yeah. Come on, you can do better than that. Yeah. How's everyone doing? Yeah. All right. You know, red hair, I'm just not sure about it. So, how many of you know me as a bus driver?
I do. I had you as a bus driver.
2, 3, 4. I've been driving bus for 7 years. 4 of those 7 years, I served as mayor of Muscatine. How many of you knew that?
I did.
Okay, all right. Well, and I'm here to talk a little bit about what I did as the mayor of Muscatine. And please go home and tell your parents I'm going to run again. That seems to be the general consensus of the community. In any case, as the mayor of Muscatine, there were certain responsibilities that I had. The first, but certainly not the most important, was to conduct city council meetings on the first 3 Thursday nights of every month. That was conduct city council meetings so that they didn't get out of hand. If your teacher weren't here and you were just doing your business, things might get out of hand, but she brings things back to order, correct? You know, as I walk around the room here, I see things like the Constitution. How many people know what the Constitution is?
I'm raising my hand.
And real quickly, what is it? Okay, would you like to try it? What is the Constitution? Correct.
Yes, this is a document that made our government.
Very good. Very good. Do you have anything different? Okay. The Constitution, in simple terms, is a set of rules that we live by in this country. And politics boils down to and begins with city government. Now, in Muscatine, is city government Republican or is it Democrat? Anyone? Yeah. Pardon? A little louder?
Either of them.
Neither of them. Not either. Neither of them. It's nonpartisan. In other words, the mayor doesn't have to be a Democrat and he doesn't have to be, or she doesn't have to be a Republican, nor do the council members. Now, come voting time, when it's time for them to vote for the president or the county board of supervisors or whatever, whatever they vote when they're in the voting booth, in the privacy of that voting booth, is entirely up to them. But in terms of running a city government, there is no such thing as a Republican or a Democrat. They are all nonpartisan. And this is more than you've heard me say on the bus in 6 months, isn't it? He's shaking his head, yes. Okay. The mayor's other responsibilities, one of which is public relations. Anyone know what that means? Pardon?
Talking to people?
Talking to people, exactly. How many music stores do we have in Muscatine?
One? 3. Oh, okay.
None. We don't have any music stores in Muscatine anymore. So I'm going to use this as an example. I believe West Music comes to Muscatine a couple times a year and markets their goods to musical students. Well, why wouldn't West Music want to be in Muscatine? They're already reaping the benefits from Muscatine students in terms of band rentals and so forth. So part of the mayor's responsibility in public relations is to sit down with the people from, and I'll say West Music, and negotiate with them and try to convince them to actually build a store or open a store in Muscatine. How many boat dealers do we have in Muscatine? We do have one, which simply means that the inventory that he has is extremely limited. So why wouldn't the mayor go to a boat dealer that's enjoying success in another community and coerce them into moving to Muscatine and setting up shop? So public relations is something that a mayor has got to be very good at. I think one of the questions is, how did I decide to become or to run for the position of mayor? I really hadn't thought about it, but I was attending a Salvation Army function one evening with my wife, and we were fortunate enough to be sitting at a table with the Krieger family. Krieger's Auto Sales. Dick O'Brien, who is the former 16-year mayor, had already announced that he was not going to run again. And I believe it was Doug Krieger turned around and said, "I think you should run for mayor." Well, frankly, I never even gave that any thought, and I sort of blew off what he was saying to me. But as time went on, more and more people approached me and said the same thing, in essence, to me. They thought that I would make a good mayor. So I made the decision to run for mayor, and I won. And then a second term came along, and I ran again. In any case, the decision to run for a political position, particularly in a city like Muscatine, has got to be something that you really, really want to do. Now, we're at Central Middle School, and many years ago, this was the high school. And I graduated from this high school in this location. I'm not sure I ever had this classroom, but I graduated from high school here. I've lived in Muscatine my entire life. I love this community. A lot of people that live in Muscatine, their entire lives, they don't necessarily love this community, but I do. I find things that interest me almost every day. And part of that is driving a bus for some of the young people in our community. Now, what was another question that you had for me earlier?
I think you've already addressed it. I'll say it again. Why did you run for mayor?
Okay. And again, the position of mayor and city council in Muscatine is nonpartisan, which means you're not a Democrat or you're not a Republican. So, shortly after I was elected in 2012, I got a phone call from a lady whose name is Sarah Landy. Anyone ever hear of Sarah Landy? Well, let me tell you about Sarah Landy. I'm old and she's older than I am. Sarah Landy probably has a tighter relationship with the People's Republic of China than anyone I have ever met. And when I say a relationship with the People's Republic of China, I'm talking about their president, whose name is Xi Jinping. In any case, in that phone call, she said to me, "I'm having a special guest in a couple of weeks, and I'd like you to be at our home and help us greet him." And she was talking about Xi Jinping, who at the time was the vice president of the People's Republic of China, was coming to Muscatine for his second visit. He was first here in 1985 as a provincial, which is the same as our state, but a provincial leader in agriculture. He was here to learn about agriculture and take whatever he could find or he could learn back to his province in China. And he had never been to America, never been particularly to Iowa, but he was here for 3 days, and he was absolutely amazed at the way people treated him and at the welcome he was given. He was just like one of the guys or one of the gals at a picnic. pretty much. He remembered that, and in 2012 was flying to Washington to meet with President Obama, and then flying on to California, and he diverted his aircraft from Washington, D.C. to the Quad City Airport in Moline. And then he drove a car. Well, he didn't drive, but he had his people drive him in a car to the Landy residence, which is where I met him. And I met several other provincial officials from the People's Republic of China. But to make a long story short, a lot of Muscatine doesn't understand what our relationship with China really is. China is second in the category of economics in the world. The United States is first in the same category. So if the two powers got together, don't you think that would be a good thing? But getting back to the people of Muscatine, they don't exactly understand the relationship that we have or are nurturing to have with the People's Republic of China. Xi Jinping is a pretty good guy in my estimation. His wife is a retired singer, is world-renowned, and particularly in China. But the point being is that I personally think we should continue to nurture that relationship. Has anyone ever heard of a Muscatine Cultural Center, which is located in Jinan? You have heard of that? Simply what that is it's a museum about, there are artifacts there from HNI, from Heinz USA, from Monsanto, in Jinan, which is located in China. It's the only one of its kind in the world. And it says Muscatine Cultural Center. I think that's phenomenal, and I've been there. I've been to China twice, and I visited over 15 cities. I'm just flattered to have been chosen the one to do that, but I also respect that I need to do something with the information that I came home with, and that is to continue to promote relationships with China and with the United States. And it begins right here in Muscatine. Anyone ever heard of Mark Twain? Yeah. Anyone ever read Mark Twain? Anything by Mark Twain? Well, do you know that Mark Twain is probably the most well-read author in the People's Republic of China? And what did Mark Twain write about? The Mississippi River, Huckleberry Finn. So when Chinese people come to Muscatine, the river is the first thing that they want to see. There are 100,000 Chinese people that come to the United States, more specifically O'Hare International Airport, every year, just to vacation. Their society has changed a great deal. And if we could get 1% of that 100,000 to come to Muscatine and stay for a couple of days to look at what Xi Jinping saw in 1985 and again in 2012, wouldn't that be a feather in our hat? So again, that's part of the responsibility of a mayor, in my opinion. Who do I work closely with in city government? I would have to say I worked very closely with the city administrator, who's much younger than I am, but he is kind of a visionary. He's the one that created the roundabout on beautiful Cedar Street now. He's the one that had the idea to extend Mulberry Avenue, and that project will be shortly finished. He's doing the corridor project. He's developing the riverfront through the assistance of many of Muscatine's citizens, as well as several of the council members and the department heads and so forth. So, in my opinion, it's the mayor's responsibility to work with city government, city hall, public works, the fire department, the police department, the wastewater treatment plant, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the responsibility of a mayor. Do you have any other questions, ma'am?
I think the one, how would you say that you maintain democracy? Last class you mentioned your relationship with China.
Yeah, many of you may have heard that in years past, China, they had some things going wrong. Human relations, the treatment of their human beings, their limitations of one child per family, so on and so forth. Well, that has all changed. They are more democratic in their way of processing information almost than we are these days. So first of all, to start a relationship with the People's Republic of China, and to maintain that relationship on an international level is something I think that Muscatine needs, and I'm promoting 100%. Even though I'm not the mayor anymore, I still promote it. I still think that there's things we can salvage there, and we can make Muscatine grow and become better and faster and more eager and so forth.
And I think it was 2 weeks ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had some Chinese, was it the artists that we had in our school?
Yes, you did.
Some of you got to experience in art class making masks. And then what else did you guys get to create?
There was a lot. There was like 5 different things. One of them was you got to taught how to write like a Chinese
Character?
Yeah. And then you got to paint like letters of the Chinese thing, and then there was something with clay, and then they taught you how to put like art things there.
Do you think that's a good thing to learn or be aware of? Why do you think, Taylor, I was thinking your head, I just pick on you?
Well, because if one of these days, if you want to go to like China, you might need to learn how to like do that stuff before you want to go there.
Or just have an awareness that they've got different artist skills or different things. It doesn't mean they're wrong or bad, it's just something different, something to be aware of.
The significant difference between China and America is age. China is a very old country. So the art skills that they have, culturally speaking, are also very old. And they're artists which continue to grow because their population is much greater than ours. How many know how to play ping pong? Ping pong. Anybody play ping pong? All right. Well, we have a sister city in China, and it's called Jinding. Anyone know what Jinding is famous for? Ping pong. It is the home of the Chinese International Table Tennis Training Center. I'm fortunate enough to have been there. The mayor of Jinding gifted me 2 very expensive Chinese tables for table tennis. They're in storage at Public Works. The old Marie Lindsay building downtown, that's currently owned by the 2 Chinese gentlemen that spend half of the year here in Muscatine. They're going to refurbish that building, and those 2 tables will go in that building. And what I say what we would like to do is to start an American table tennis training center here in Muscatine. Think big. That's one of the primary differences between us and China, is we don't think big enough here in this country. And they think big in China, believe me. So, I'm just about through, folks. Any questions you'd like to ask me?
I don't think that you're on mayor.
You are so quiet.
Do you think you'll ever run for mayor?
I am going to, yes. I was afraid someone would, in one of these classes would ask me, well, how come you got beat? I can tell you how come I got beat. I took the current mayor I took her for granted. And I didn't do a whole lot of campaigning. The mayoral elections in Muscatine come at an odd time. There's no other elections at all, no presidential elections or anything like that. So it's pretty easy to take things lightly and not perform as you should have. And I'm guilty of that. I got beat by 120 votes, which in a town of 24,000 certainly isn't very many. And I wasn't going to run, but I every day am reminded by somebody on the street, either in the bus or somewhere, that I should run again. And my response is, well, did you vote? And their response is, no, I thought you were a shoo-in. I just thought you were going to win, so I didn't vote. I hear that response more than anything else. So thank you, young lady, for the question. I appreciate that very much. So who wants to be mayor someday? It's okay. You can. There you go. All right. One young lady out of 2 classes. That's very good. Very good.
You have a goal for if you can win? Is there things that you would like for sure to try to work towards?
Yes. There's a. I probably shouldn't go here, but there's a relationship problem between the city administrator and the current mayor. She works in her office 2 hours a week. Take that back, 4 hours a week on 2 different days. I worked in that office 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. But you have to have a working relationship with the people that run the city. And the city administrator is the main guy. He's the guy that runs the city. You have to have a working relationship with the finance department, with community development, with public works, with the fire department, the police department. All these city entities, you have to have a working relationship with all of them. And unfortunately, our current mayor hasn't done that. And she has 1 year left on her current term. So thank you for asking.
I maybe just wonder, because when you mentioned the thousands of Chinese that fly into Chicago, I know at one time there was talk of getting the Amtrak train, a connection in the Quad Cities.
And that's moving forward, only it's stopping in Moline.
Okay.
It is, the state of Iowa is not interested.
Okay, I didn't know if that could be something.
Questions, anyone? Yes?
What was the best part about being the mayor?
The best part about being the mayor, being able to go to functions like when the community got together and decided to build the Merrill Hotel. That's one. The dedication of the riverfront, that's another. I'm not much of a traveler, so I love the 4th of July in Muscatine with the orchestra and things of that nature. In fact, one of my goals has always been to build an amphitheater on the Muscatine, a place for the orchestra to perform.
Would you guys like, I don't know if this is possible, would you like the mayor's office to do anything for our schools?
Better food.
That would be awesome. I like the food. The food's awesome.
You know,
For mayor, let's be serious. I'd be the best mayor there is.
But you didn't show any interest.
I'd still be the best mayor. Bet.
You know, I'll tell you a little story about this building and the old cafeteria. And when I was in high school here, I worked in that old cafeteria. And there used to be, they were like Maid-Rites. They were a loose hamburger sandwich. And me and another guy used to put rubber bands in them so that when you bit into them, they'd smack you in the lips. And also, they used to have little bowls with vanilla pudding. And we'd replace that with butter. But I think your food option is, I think you have some pretty good food today.
Did you get in trouble for doing any of that?
Never got caught.
They get fired?
Wait till you were.
Pardon?
No, they never got,
We never got caught.
You were a lunch person? Like,
Mhm.
your book?
Yep. Yeah, it was fun.
Did you do it all the time?
3 days a week.
Last question,
Okay?
or unless somebody else has another one. What do you think is the best thing about Muscatine?
The best thing about Muscatine, you're the second one today to ask me that question. And I'll tell you why. Anyone know what freezing for food is?
Say what?
Freezing for food?
No. You freeze for food?
Freezing for food is an event that takes place, it actually started yesterday. And it takes place in the Hy-Vee parking lot, and it uses things like the Hawk truck. Everyone know what the Hawk truck is?
Yeah.
That's a big black and gold semi-tractor and trailer that hauls the Iowa Hawkeye football equipment to the away games. And it's only 2 years old. So, to answer your question, and I just responded to this because I was out to the Hawk truck. Again, when I say it's the radio station promotion, but they raise food to give to the Salvation Army. There are a lot of people in this community that go hungry during this time of the year, and the Salvation Army's food pantry is pretty much down to nothing. So if you can fill a truck like the Hawk truck with $5 food bags, and that's a deal they've worked out with Hy-Vee. The manager of Hy-Vee will put like $8 worth of food in a $5 grocery bag. And you don't even have to deliver it out to the truck. You can just pay for it. Some of the Hy-Vee employees will haul those bags out in grocery carts. But to respond to your question, if someone asks me what is the greatest thing about Muscatine, I just gave you an example of giving. This community is so good at giving, it's unbelievable. This is the 16th year for freezing for food. And I did it the first 12. And the community just reacts in a phenomenal fashion. I mean, the truck will be filled by noon Saturday. And then it's taken down to the Salvation Army. All the food is unloaded. And then the truck, in its empty form, is taken out to Krieger's. And the same thing happens with toys, not food. So, to respond to your question, the level of giving in this community is phenomenal. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Do you know roughly how long will that food last? And I know they fluctuate year to year, but is the food pantry depleted by March?
Oh, no. It usually gets into August and September. And then you have certain Boy Scout troops in town that have food drives and things of that nature. So that, and I think the goal for the Red Kettles this year is $180,000. A part of that $180,000 is to purchase food as well. So.
Anything else? Any burning questions out there?
Yes,
if I ever ran for mayor, would you vote for me?
I sure would.
No. Don't mayor.
MAYOR.
I didn't want to spell, thank you very much. Oh.
All right, thanks a lot, folks.
Think you got one more or not? One more question or not?
How's your day going?
My day's going great.
That's very good. Are you as hungry as us?
Oh, am I getting into your lunch hour?
Well, 10 minutes. 10 minutes is one.
ELABOT, I want to.
Well,
What are you